There is a moment in every life when the mind grows tired of carrying what the heart was never meant to hold. Perhaps you have felt it. The quiet weight of memories that return again and again. The invisible threads that tie you to yesterday. The voice inside that whispers, "What if things had been different?" And so you hold on. You hold on to the past, to the pain, to the image of who you once were, or who you believed you should have become. But listen carefully, because what you call holding on may actually be the very thing that is holding you. The great Persian mystic Jalal ad-Din Rumi once suggested that the soul is not meant to live inside a cage built from yesterday's stories. Yet many people spend their entire lives polishing those bars. They replay old conversations. They guard old wounds. They cling to identities that no longer fit the person they are becoming. And without realizing it, they transform memory into a prison. But what if the door of that prison has never truly been locked? Letting go is often misunderstood. Many believe it means forgetting, abandoning, or pretending that something never mattered. But that is not what the deeper wisdom teaches. Letting go is not an act of rejection. It is an act of liberation. It is the moment when the soul realizes that clinging to pain does not honor the past. It only extends its shadow over the present. Imagine holding a handful of sand. The tighter you close your fist, the faster the sand escapes between your fingers. But when the hand opens gently, the sand rests peacefully in the palm. Life moves in the same way. What we grip with fear begins to slip away, but what we allow to breathe often remains with us in a new and unexpected form. This is the hidden power of letting go. Not the power of loss, but the power of transformation. Rumi often spoke as if life itself were a river. A river does not argue with the stones in its path. It does not stop to mourn the water that has already passed. It simply continues to flow, carrying with it both reflection and movement. Yet the human mind resists this flow. We stand in the river of time trying to hold the same water in our hands. We say, "This moment must stay." We say, "This person must never change." We say, "This pain must mean something forever." And in doing so, we begin to resist the very movement that gives life its meaning. But the soul, according to Rumi, is not designed for stagnation. The soul is a traveler. It is constantly shedding old skins, like a serpent that grows beyond its previous form. What once defined you was only a temporary garment. Your failures, your regrets, your lost relationships, they were chapters, not the entire book. Yet, people often treat a single chapter as if it were the whole story. They replay it. They analyze it. They ask endless questions that have no answers. And slowly, the past begins to consume the energy that was meant for the present moment. Rumi might gently whisper something different to such a person. He might say, "Why do you sit beside a closed door when the entire garden waits behind you?" Letting go begins when we recognize that our suffering often comes not from what happened, but from our refusal to release it. The mind tells us that holding on will somehow give us control, meaning, or justice. But in reality, it only keeps the wound alive. Think about the times when life forced you to release something you once believed you could never live without. A relationship ended. A dream collapsed. A version of yourself disappeared. In the beginning, it may have felt like the world itself had broken apart. And yet, somehow, life continued. New paths appeared. New people entered your story. New strengths emerged that you did not know existed. What once felt like destruction slowly revealed itself as transformation. This is one of the great secrets Rumi understood. The soul grows not by collecting more, but by releasing what it has outgrown. A tree does not mourn the leaves it sheds in autumn. If it tried to hold every leaf forever, spring would never arrive. Letting go is the silent preparation for renewal. But the mind resists this wisdom because it fears emptiness. It fears the unknown space that appears when something familiar disappears. We cling to old pain because at least it is familiar. The unknown feels like standing at the edge of a vast ocean with no map. Yet Rumi saw that emptiness differently. To him, emptiness was not absence. It was possibility. When the cup is already full, nothing new can be poured into it. But when it is emptied, even the simplest drop becomes a gift. And so the real question is not whether life will ask you to let go. Life will ask that of everyone. The real question is whether you will release things willingly, or whether you will wait until life pries them from your hands. Because one path leads to suffering, the other leads to freedom. But to understand this freedom, we must first explore why the human heart clings so tightly to what it already knows, even when it hurts. The heart clings because it believes that what it holds defines who it is. The mind builds a quiet story. This is my past. These are my wounds. This is what happened to me. This is who I became because of it. And over time, that story becomes so familiar that we begin to protect it, even when it causes us pain. We defend our disappointments. We justify our resentments. We revisit the same memories as if they were sacred monuments that must never be moved. But listen closely to the wisdom hidden between the lines of life, the kind of wisdom that the mystic Jalal ad-Din Rumi tried to express again and again. The soul is not a museum for old sorrows. It is a living garden, and gardens cannot flourish if every fallen leaf is preserved forever. Imagine walking through a garden that has never been cleared. Leaves from 10 years ago still cover the ground. Branches that broke long ago still lie where they fell. Nothing has been allowed to return to the soil. At first it may look like preservation, but in truth it becomes decay. The soil cannot breathe. New seeds cannot take root. This is what happens when we refuse to let go. We think we are honoring the past, but we are only preventing the future from growing. Many people believe that letting go means losing something important. They fear that releasing anger will erase justice, that releasing grief will erase love, or that releasing the past will erase their identity. But this fear comes from misunderstanding the nature of memory. Letting go does not erase the past. It simply removes its chains. A memory can remain without controlling the direction of your life. A scar can exist without continuing to bleed. In fact, when you release the tight grip of attachment, something unexpected happens. The memory becomes lighter. It transforms from a burden into a lesson. Rumi often described transformation as a kind of alchemy of the soul. Pain enters the heart like raw metal, heavy and unrefined. But when the heart stops resisting, when it allows life to move through it rather than against it, that metal slowly turns into wisdom. The wound becomes insight, the loss becomes depth, the ending becomes the doorway to a new beginning. But this transformation requires a kind of courage that few people are taught, the courage to stand in uncertainty, the courage to step beyond the familiar patterns of thought that have defined your story for so long. Because the mind prefers repetition. It prefers the same arguments, the same regrets, the same inner conversations replayed 1,000 times. There is a strange comfort in this repetition. It gives the illusion of control, as if thinking about the past long enough might somehow change it. But the river of time does not flow backward, and every moment spent trying to rewrite yesterday is a moment stolen from the life that is unfolding right now. Rumi understood this with remarkable clarity. He often spoke about the illusion of permanence that humans try to create. We want people to remain the same. We want circumstances to remain stable. We want our plans to unfold exactly as we imagined them. But life, like the wind across a desert, is constantly reshaping the landscape. Nothing stays fixed. The seasons change. The body changes. Relationships evolve. Dreams dissolve, and new ones emerge. And the more tightly we cling to what was, the more painful this natural movement becomes. Letting go is not surrendering to chaos. It is aligning yourself with the rhythm of life itself. It is recognizing that change is not the enemy of peace. It is the very path that leads toward it. Think about how a river moves around a stone. It does not fight the obstacle. It does not exhaust itself in resistance. It simply flows, adapting, reshaping its path while continuing its journey toward the ocean. The human spirit has the same ability, yet we often forget it. Instead of flowing, we freeze. Instead of adapting, we resist. And the resistance itself becomes the source of our suffering. But somewhere deep within you, beneath the noise of thought and the echoes of old memories, there is a quieter wisdom. A part of you that already understands that life is meant to move. That part of you knows that the past has already fulfilled its purpose. It brought you here. It shaped the person who is listening to these words right now. And perhaps the most profound realization comes when you see that holding on is not necessary for remembering, and it is not necessary for loving. You can honor what was, while still allowing life to unfold into what is becoming. This is the delicate balance Rumi hinted at in many of his reflections, to walk through life with open hands rather than clenched fists, because a clenched fist can hold only a few things, but an open hand can receive the entire world. Yet opening the hand is not easy. The mind will whisper doubts. It will ask, what if I lose something important? What if I regret letting go? What if the emptiness that follows is too great to bear? These questions arise from fear, but they also point toward the doorway of transformation. For beyond that fear lies a discovery that changes everything, the realization that what you truly are cannot be lost. And when that realization begins to take root, the act of letting go no longer feels like loss at all. It begins to feel like returning to a deeper freedom that was always waiting beneath the weight of everything you thought you had to carry. When a person begins to understand this freedom, something subtle shifts inside them. The struggle that once filled their thoughts begins to soften. The past no longer demands constant attention. The mind, which once clung to every fragment of yesterday, slowly learns a different rhythm. It begins to trust the movement of life. This trust is not blind optimism. It is not the naive belief that nothing painful will ever happen again. Life will always bring loss, change, and unexpected turns. But the difference is that you no longer build your home inside those storms. You learn to walk through them without becoming them. The mystic Jalal ad-Din Rumi often suggested that the soul grows stronger, not by avoiding hardship, but by allowing each experience to pass through it like wind through an open field. The wind may bend the grass, but it does not uproot the earth beneath it. In the same way, when you stop gripping the past so tightly, your inner world becomes more spacious. Thoughts still come and go. Memories still visit from time to time. But they no longer rule your life. They become travelers passing through the landscape of your awareness. And something beautiful begins to happen in that space. Creativity returns. Peace returns. Curiosity returns. You begin to notice small moments that once escaped your attention. The quiet warmth of sunlight through a window. The sound of laughter in the distance, the strange miracle that every breath is both an ending and a beginning. Letting go clears the dust from the mirror of the heart. Suddenly life appears again with the freshness it once had when you were young, before the mind became crowded with expectations and disappointments. But perhaps the deepest transformation happens in the way you relate to yourself. Many people carry a silent burden of self-judgment. They replay their mistakes again and again, believing that holding on to guilt will somehow make them better. But the opposite is often true. When guilt becomes an identity, it traps the soul in a version of the past that no longer exists. Letting go also means releasing the image of the person you think you should have been. The truth is that every human being is learning as they walk. No one arrives with complete understanding. We grow through error, through confusion, through moments when the path disappears beneath our feet. These experiences are not signs of failure. They are part of the unfolding of awareness. Rumi once wrote that the wound is the place where the light enters you. But light cannot enter a wound that is constantly being reopened by regret. Healing requires a gentle courage. The courage to say, what happened has already shaped me, and now I allow it to rest. When the past is finally allowed to rest, the energy that was once trapped there becomes available again. It flows back into the present moment, where life is actually happening. And that present moment is far richer than we often realize. Because right now, in this very breath, life is offering something new. Not a repetition of yesterday, not a continuation of old pain, but a quiet invitation to begin again. This is the hidden power of letting go. It does not remove your past. It transforms your relationship with it. It frees the heart from carrying what no longer belongs to the present. And in that freedom, you discover something unexpected. The more you release, the more space life has to enter. Like a traveler who finally puts down a heavy bag after a long journey, you begin to feel lighter with every step. The road stretches forward, open and unknown, yet filled with possibility. And perhaps that is what Rumi wanted us to remember all along. Life is not asking you to hold on to everything. Life is asking you to trust the unfolding, to walk forward with an open heart, to allow each experience to come, and when its time has passed, to gently let it go. Because when you release what you have outgrown, you create space for who you are becoming. If this reflection spoke to something inside you, take a moment to support this growing community. Subscribe to the channel so we can continue exploring wisdom like this together. Give this video a like so more people can discover it, and share it with someone who might need to hear these words today. Every small action helps this community grow, and it allows these ideas to reach more hearts around the world.